Welcome to the Fishbowl Radio, everybody. My name is Chief here, and joining me today is Jalen. We're going to be doing our Louisiana Ragin Cajuns Softball tournament, possibly hosting a regional here. And Louisiana Ragin Cajun Baseball coming off their win against Southern Miss. And we look ahead to their future series against Troy for, to keep their place on top of the Sunbelt regular season conference lead that they have. So without further ado, let me introduce everybody to Jalen. How you doing today, Jalen?
I am doing well, Chief. Another great day, as I always say, to be a Raging Cajun.
Of course. It's always a good day to be a Cajun fan. Anyway, so looking at this, let's talk about softball real quick because I think softball's they're getting to the end of the season. We're talking about bracketology and stuff like that. So they're coming off a sweep against UOM, who is RPI 94. And, Cajuns haven't lost a game since they dropped the game on April 16th to LSU, which they ended up beating LSU in the midweek game this past week, last Tuesday. And then they beat McNeese, and they went on a 3-game win streak there against UOM and sweeping them. So Troy's RPI is 52. I think they'll take two. Well, let's see. Actually, I think they'll sweep Troy, actually. They'll be at home. It'll be the last home series. Baseball's not going to be there, so they can have a lot of crowd support here. The Cajuns are RPI 15, non-conference RPI 25. Strength of schedule is 9. Non-conference strength of schedule is number 1. They're 9-1 their last 10 games. They're 38-15. Their quadrant RPI record is 12-14. So with Troy being at 52, it's kind of like, okay, so let's look at Troy's schedule here and see how much they can actually get boosted up here. So I want to know where Troy ends up. Unfortunately for Troy, they lost series to South Alabama. So we were kind of hoping that Troy would beat Alabama to give the Cajuns some more cushion with RPI. Let's see what predicted results has them ending up at. So let's see. I think their RPI is going to be 49, which projected would be a good thing for the Cajuns anyway if they ended up doing that there. They got them winning 1 game against the Cajuns, and that's the Friday matchup. So, but yeah, the Cajuns here, if they take even 2 or 3, it'll still be a big thing for them. But I think the Cajuns do need a sweep, though. And then you got the Sunbelt Conference tournament, and that's going to add more games, and it's going to be more. Because the softball side of conference for the Sunbelt has gotten a lot better over the couple of years here. So they moved up from 16 to 15. Let's see here. Predicted results. I'm kind of curious to see what they're going to put on here. This thing's going to change once we get into. So they just got them finishing with RPI at 14, number 8 strength of schedule. Jalen, is that enough for the Cajuns to host a regional, in your opinion?
I think it is, Chief. I think it's enough to host. I mean, I know everybody wants to talk about how, okay, the Cajuns beat LSU. It should be guaranteed. And we both have said that it should be guaranteed. But even like you said, even besides that win against LSU, the Cajuns have some great wins on the season. Yeah, they took a couple of bad losses in the beginning, but overall, they've had this non-conference strength of schedule to prepare them for this kind of situation, to where now the committee is like, okay, now we're looking at this Sunbelt team. We're looking at UL, who's the Cajuns have dominated softball in the past. Who knows how many years they won? They just clinched the regular season championship once again. So now it's like, yeah, they look at all the wins, and we can't forget, Chief, they did beat Oklahoma. So I mean, you just add that on to some other wins that they've had, and this team deserves the host. I really do think so.
Yeah, I think we've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks. They deserve the host. They beat LSU, which they did. I think it should be like locking in a regional. It's just I think this committee is gonna go by RPI. I don't think they're gonna like swing it too much there, but if the Cajuns win the Sun Belt Conference tournament, I think that's kind of the next step, right? Step one's beating LSU. then you have these other criteria that you have to meet there. So if they blow through the Sunbelt Conference tournament and they're able to just straight up win every single game in that tournament, they should be rewarded with a host. Now, what if they just stumble in the tournament, which is it's possible. We have to look at all the different scenarios and how this could play out. If the Cajuns, let's say they get to the semifinals and they had already lost a game in the tournament and they end up losing in the semis, are they going to be a regional host, you think, Jalen, or do they have to win the Sunbelt Conference tournament?
I think that's actually a great question, Chief. I think even if they don't win the Sun Belt tournament, I think they should still be able to host just on based on their year-long schedule, and they beat some great teams. I think that they still should be able to host even if they don't win the Sun Belt tournament.
Because I'm only asking that if you compare these conferences, okay, together and look at, RPIs and stuff. And let's see here. So with RPI conference ranking for softball, let's just see where they put them, everybody at. The Sun Belt is sixth in that regard there. Their conference leader is the Cajuns at 15, and that's where they at right now. So SEC is number one, Big 12 is number two, UCLA is number three with the Pac-12. ACC's forward, Florida State at number nine. Then you got the Big Ten with Northwestern at 29. So it's close. The Cajuns are the top G5 program there. So you're gonna have some auto bids. So you're going to put where all these guys are going to go at here. The SEC is going to get a couple of bids. Do you reward a number 29 RPI Northwestern over a number 15 Louisiana that would lose in their conference tournament there? Just looking at where it's going to end up at, I do think they'll put the Cajuns at 16 or 15. I feel like they're really on the bubble already as it is in terms of hosting, because the predictor was putting them at number 9 a couple of weeks ago. It had Troy beating South Alabama, but that didn't happen this past week. So now you're looking at it from, okay, so Cajuns were probably getting a host spot to now where it's like, okay, what are we actually doing here? So the Cajuns are up one. You had three SEC teams in front of them. Texas A&M dropped 3 spots. Alabama dropped 3 spots. Missouri dropped a spot. As we enter this last weekend here, you got LSU's playing Liberty. You have the Cajuns playing Troy. So what needs to happen is it would be a blessing for Missouri, Alabama, or Texas A&M to lose, right? So the Cajuns can move up into some spots here. Now, I want to know how much points is needed for them to really get into that regard here. We're going to look at the RPI nitty-gritty report here. That's what they call it here. I love this kind of thing. So it's the nitty-gritty report it's got all kind of stuff in here. Average RPI wins, average RPI losses. The Cajuns, what's this blue conference? Okay, it's got the blue highlighted as your conference leader. So the Cajuns average losses to a 20. Then you got Florida at 16, 20. So you have teams here like Washington, 22. The Cajuns average RPI wins 88. So Missouri's in there, the 19 with their losses, 14. To A&M, 32. So I don't think A&M should be in that regard, even though their RPI is 12. They're kind of like sitting there with what's their strength of schedule? Okay, so A&M has a 19. Non-conference RPI is that 25? I think so. Yeah, that non-conference RPI is 25, which I'm kind of shocked that it's even that kind of RPI there. Probably because of the midweek games and stuff. you know. But if you look at quadrant one, quadrant two, and quadrant three, it's not letting me sort it, but it's you get. I think LSU has played the most. Oklahoma has the most wins. It's looking like, yeah, the only thing that's hurting the Cajuns, I think, with hosting would be them quadrant one victories compared to their neighbors nearby, like Alabama, Missouri. Even A&M's 20-8 against quadrant one. So if you're having a really bad time kind of lining these things up, it'll be kind of rough to see that there. But as far as like Florida, Washington, Virginia Tech, and all them behind them, like Texas State and stuff, the Cajuns beat a 2 or 3 of Texas State. So you can kind of use that as a guide there. You got Baylor right there that they played and Cal. So the Cajuns have played a lot of these teams in this top regional here. They played Stanford, they played LSU, they've played Oklahoma, Texas. I think the Cajuns are in a good spot to host. But I do think just to kind of be sure, if you want to guarantee yourself a spot in the NCAA regionals as a host seed, you need to win the Sunbelt Conference tournament because I don't think that there's another way around where you could have that there with all this information being like presented here with the quadrant one record of RPI being shown here. Like I said and mentioned this we were talking about LSU earlier. Um, you know, in the different LSU edition of the Fishbowl Radio podcast, like I've mentioned the fact that the committee doesn't watch every single game. It's humanly impossible. Like there's 300. How much we said, Jalen, it was? It was 300 something teams. You'll get the picture. I don't have to go like in the specifics of there's 300 teams, and you have like 150 games or could be played on any single day, like Tuesday, Wednesday, or that kind of thing. So it's just a lot for even a group of 8 to 10 people to watch 6, 7 games simultaneously and digest that information and be like, all right, this is what we're going to do. So that's why they're going to use RPI. And they might kind of look at it like, look at a spreadsheet, like we look at it and compare these quadrant one records and be like, I think that's good. I think that's bad. That they're going to make their decision and see how they're going to do from that point on. So I think the Cajuns are close. I feel like they're on that bubble, though. I feel like they're on the bubble of hosting it. Even with the LSU win, I think they deserve it. I think there should be one in Baton Rouge, and I think there should be one in Lafayette, with Baton Rouge getting the super regional because their RPI is a 5. I mean, I'd be kind of a hypocrite if I didn't believe that. Uh, but that's what it's looking like here. So I think at the end of the day, Cajuns will win the Sunbelt Conference tournament. I think they will be a regional host from what I'm seeing with the data here now. It would have been nice for Troy to beat South Alabama and give them a more bump up in the RPI realm whenever, or like our prediction. I got the Cajuns sweeping against Troy this week. So that's what I think. What do you think, Jalen, about all that?
Yeah, I do. I see a lot we're talking about Chief because I mean, looking at all that, and yeah, if they don't win the Sun Belt tournament, like the committee's gonna be like, well, you did all this in the regular season, but when it gets down to the Sun Belt tournament, you lost. So I see what you're saying right there. To guarantee it, yeah, I would say they need to. I think also even making it to the championship game, I think they still should be able to do it. But I agree with you. The committee's gonna look at it as where you win the Sunbelt tournament, you automatically get in. And hey, you did all this during the regular season. We'll make you a host right there in Lafayette to host a regional. So I think that's going to happen. As far as their series, their last regular season series against Troy, I think it's going to be a sweep. I think the Cajuns are going to sweep Troy and go into the Sunbelt tournament on a win streak, and hopefully they'll be able to win that.
Yeah, I mean that would be something that would be really good to see for the Cajuns here. Now let's talk about Louisiana Ragin Cajun baseball here, coming off their 2 of their 3 wins that they took against Southern Miss. They dropped the Saturday game to them, but the Cajuns, they're looking like an at-large bid if they can, or maybe even get the automatic bid if they win the Sunbelt Conference tournament. But they have a lead in the Sunbelt Conference right now, series-wise here. They're leading against the team they're playing this weekend against Troy. Jayla, what you think about all that, going on with the Cajuns there and them playing Troy, and then they got uh, Georgia Southern after that and South Alabama wrapping up this series of the season for the Sunbelt Conference. What do you think about all that, Jayla?
I think these are all games that honestly the Cajuns should win before heading into the Sun Belt tournament, which is not as soon as the Sun Belt tournament is for softball. But as far as baseball goes, yeah, the Cajuns have had a pretty good year. But against that past series against Southern Miss, I mean, the last game they just said, you know what, we're just going to hit everything we see. I mean, putting up 13 points, 13 points. Listen to me, 13 runs, I should say. uh, I mean, that's that's a lot. That's a lot right there. I mean, they had the bat swinging. I mean, Kyle DeBarge is looking like the preseason Sun Belt Player of the Year. I mean, it's just the Cajuns have the pieces to not only win the Sun Belt but also make some noise in the NCAA tournament. And I don't think they have enough wins to host, but they can go in another team's ballpark and come out there with a win and coming up with their series against Troy. I don't know if I want to give the Cajuns the sweep, but I'll get them 2 or 3 against Troy.
Uh, the Troy's coming in with a wave of momentum, though. I mean, they swept Coastal, and that was something that a lot of people didn't see happening here. So this Troy team's looking pretty hot right now. It's gonna be a good series, I think. I do think the Cajuns will take it 2 to 3. I trust the Cajuns pitching, but it is at Troy's place, and it's kind of a rough one to kind of win on the road and go out there and be able to win these games here. And I mean, they destroyed Coastal today. Uh, Troy did 15-3. They beat them 11-4 on Saturday, 8-6 on Friday, and that was on the road. So, Troy has won. Their last loss was their last series against Georgia State. They won 7 of the last 10 games they have. So they're running, like I said, they're on a good little run there. And we'll see what happens with the Cajuns themselves. They're 6-4 in their last 10 games. So the Cajuns are, not as hot as they were earlier in the season. Like we were talking about that win streak going on. I do think they'll take 2 or 3. So if they like whoever wins this series, I think is gonna win the Sun Belt basically. Because the Cajuns don't have the amount of ground the Cajuns have here in front of Troy. If you look at the games they have coming up, like we talked about Georgia Southern here, conference RPI for the Sun Belt's 5, so you can might get a couple of teams there. They have a 3-game lead over Troy right now, so Troy's able to gain a game on the Cajuns here. So we'll see what happens here. With Southern Miss winning really helped Troy out that Saturday game. So you got Georgia Southern right there because they're still playing for seeding for the conference tournament here. Georgia Southern, they're right there tied with Southern Miss right there at 3, and Cajuns got to play them, and it's going to be a interesting series coming up when that happens too, because like these teams are still trying to play and getting positioning for that tournament. Then you got South Alabama, which is not really doing as hot as they normally are. Their RPI is 73. And, South Al's been kind of not the same South Al of old, I would say. But I think they take 2 or 3 against Troy, though. That's my prediction. And I think, because I think this is one that they're going to have to, I think this is like a must-win series for the Cajuns, because I think it would really shut the door and be able to put them in a great position to win the Sunbelt Conference regular season championship and position themselves for a chance to win. Because if they take 2 or 3 against Troy, they'll have a 5-game lead heading into that Georgia Southern series in the conference. And then you just have to win one of those 6 games there. So pivotal series for the Cajuns, like I said, against Troy. You win, you basically are going to be the Sunbelt. You win the series, you'll be basically beating the Sunbelt Conference regular season champion. So, which has not happened under Coach Deggs yet. So, besides he won the tournament, but he didn't win the regular season championship. So, this will be his first regular season championship in the Sun Belt, which Cajun pitching has been phenomenal lately. They've done a very good job. They've really turned it up this series against Southern Miss. Need to see some of it for Troy as well. So we had 3-game. This would be like basically regional teams. I think. I think Troy's gonna make a regional. It looks like Southern Miss will probably be in there. Coastal's gonna probably be in there too. So a lot going on in the Sunbelt Conference so far this year. So Sunbelt's looking at 3 or 4 teams in that regional possibly. It depends on how it all shakes out, like always, but we'll see what happens there. I do think that we could see that potentially happening there. But as far as I like looking at the predictor. I know Jalen loves the predictor, don't you, Jalen?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Love hearing what's going on.
So we both said 2 or 3. Let's see if that thing agrees with us or not. I don't know if it will. It probably won't. This thing's kind of like I think the predictor is too much on RPI base than what actual like performance is, but we'll see. Let's see what it has here. Okay, it's agreeing with us, Jalen. A 2-3 series win for the Cajuns. It's got them sweeping Georgia Southern and sweeping them South Alabama, which, is still a little far out to kind of say what we're thinking here. But, we're less than a month away here until we get to like conference tournament wise and then really sorting it out at that point. Got the Cajun finishing with an RPI of 41 and a strength of schedule of 79. So, yeah, I think it'd be good for an at-large. For sure, 22-8 in conference wouldn't be too bad. Quadrant 1 record 2-7, 7-3. I mean, when you have a strength of schedule kind of like in upper 50s, you kind of expect to see that stuff there, like higher than 50. So that's what I'm thinking here. So, yep, I think Cage's on the right track. We'll see what happens with this weekend with Troy. So thank y'all for tuning in to the Fishbowl Radio here, and we'll see y'all here next time here as well. But also, I like to give a shout out to the people that fist bumped us going to the arena football game here and like shouting out a Fishbowl. So we greatly appreciate all the support that we've received from the community of Lafayette and the surrounding areas of Acadiana. We greatly appreciate it, and y'all just keep watching. We have a lot more stuff up our sleeve that we're gonna be throwing out there for the next couple of months. So thank y'all for tuning in. Hope you have a great and wonderful day. We'll see you here next time here on the Fishbowl Radio.